It was 12:50 a.m. on August 9th, 2013, when a rural 911 dispatcher in Coke County, Texas, answered a call that would echo for more than a decade. On the other end was a man, out of breath, panicked, speaking in fragments. "I'm in the middle of a field. We're just pushing guys over here on both sides. Out of gas." The call was short. The audio was garbled. Then it ended. That man was 26-year-old Brandon Lawson, a father of 4 from San Angelo, Texas. Within hours of that call, he would vanish along Highway 277. His truck would be found. His phone would go silent. And his words, confused, urgent, incomplete, would become the center of a mystery that remains unsettled even today. This is not a story with a clear villain. There is no confirmed crime scene, no verified confrontation. Even after Brandon's remains were discovered years later, critical questions remained unanswered. This is the story of uncertainty. The days before. In early August 2013, Brandon Lawson was under pressure. He worked long shifts in the oil fields, sometimes 60 to 90 hours a week, trying to support his family. He lived with his longtime partner, Lawson, and their children in San Angelo. But he was also dealing with legal trouble. He had previously been arrested for drug-related charges, and at the time of his disappearance, he had an active warrant out of Johnson County. Family members later said he was trying to get back on track. But there were signs of instability in the days before August 9th. Brandon had relapsed into drug use shortly before he vanished. His brother Kyle would later confirm that Brandon had used methamphetamine in the days leading up to that night. That context matters, not as a conclusion, but as part of the picture. On the evening of August 8th, Brandon and Ledessa argued. Tensions were high. Around 11:30 p.m., Brandon called his father in Crowley, Texas, roughly 3.5 hours away, and said he was coming to visit. At 11:53 p.m., he left his home driving his silver Ford F-150 northbound on Highway 277. What happened next would unfold in less than 2 hours. The calls to Kyle. Shortly after leaving town, Brandon began calling his brother, Kyle. According to Kyle, Brandon sounded erratic. He claimed that people, possibly Mexicans from the neighborhood, as described at the time, were chasing him out of San Angelo. His speech was fragmented. At one point, he said a state trooper had pulled someone over, but that others were still pursuing him. Kyle directly asked if he was hallucinating. Brandon denied it. Cell service along rural Highway 277 was unreliable. But whether because of reception issues, panic, or possible drug influence, the conversations were difficult to follow. At 12:38 a.m., Brandon called again. This time, his truck had run out of gas near Bronte, Texas. He asked Kyle to bring fuel. Kyle agreed. He grabbed a gas can and began driving north with his wife and young son. Meanwhile, Brandon continued making short, strange calls. At one point, he reportedly told Kyle he was bleeding. Then, at 12:50 a.m., Brandon dialed 911. The 911 call in rural Coke County, 911 calls were routed to a local nursing home, where staff would then contact law enforcement. The recording of Brandon's call is brief and chaotic. He tells the dispatcher he is in the middle of a field. He says his truck ran out of gas. He mentions pushing guys over here on both sides. At one point, he seems to reference a state trooper. The dispatcher asks if he needs an ambulance. He first says yes, then corrects himself. "No, I need the cops." That moment stands out. Brandon had an active warrant. He had reason to avoid police contact. Yet he was asking for officers to come. Was he truly afraid? Or disoriented? Parts of the audio are nearly impossible to decipher. Online communities have spent years analyzing the recording. Some believe he says, "state trooper." Others hear phrases about someone being hurt. There are claims of faint noises resembling gunshots, though this has never been officially confirmed as gunfire. The call ends abruptly. There is no verified evidence of a struggle at that moment. No confirmed report of another vehicle involved. Only Brandon's voice, urgent, confused, and cut off. The truck on Highway 277 around 1:10 a.m. Kyle arrived near the location Brandon described. A Coke County Sheriff's deputy was already there, responding to a separate report of a vehicle partially blocking traffic. Brandon's Ford F-150 was parked with hazard lights on. It appeared positioned as though he may have attempted to pull back onto the roadway before stopping. There were no visible signs of violence, no broken glass, no obvious disturbance. While Kyle was speaking with the deputy, Brandon called again. "I can see you. I'm right here." Kyle looked around. He saw nothing. The deputy, who had just driven the stretch of highway, reported seeing no one walking nearby. During the call, Brandon allegedly warned Kyle that law enforcement was approaching, using a code phrase they shared. Then the line disconnected. After 1:19 a.m., all calls to Brandon's phone went straight to voicemail. He was gone. The initial searches began quickly. Law enforcement conducted ground searches and used thermal imaging equipment. The Texas Rangers later joined the investigation. Helicopters scanned the surrounding brushland. Highway 277 is bordered by thick vegetation, uneven terrain, and ranch land stretching for miles. Visibility from the air is limited by dense mesquite and undergrowth. Despite extensive efforts, no trace of Brandon was found in the days that followed. There was one small detail noted: a spot beneath a tree near the road where it appeared someone had been sitting. But that was all. Without physical evidence of a crime scene, the investigation had little to anchor it. The questions from the beginning, uncertainty defined the case. Was Brandon experiencing drug-induced paranoia? Methamphetamine can cause hallucinations and intense fear. Was he imagining being chased? Or did he witness something real? Something that startled him enough to call 911 despite his warrant? Why did he say he was bleeding? There was no blood found in his truck. Why claim to see Kyle if he wasn't visible? If he was disoriented, how far could he realistically have traveled into the brush in darkness? The discovery. For nearly 9 years, the case remained open and unresolved. Then, in February 2022, a private search team received permission to search property near where Brandon's truck had been found, land that had not previously been thoroughly examined on foot. Searchers located clothing matching what Brandon had been wearing that night, his shorts and shoes. Nearby, they discovered human remains. Due to the condition of the remains and the passage of time, identification required extended forensic testing. On December 25, 2024, Brandon Lawson's family was informed that the remains were positively identified as his. He had been found less than a mile from where his truck was parked. The official cause of death was undetermined. If there's one thing this case reminds us, it's how fragile certainty can be. A single phone call, a few unclear words, a stretch of empty highway, and more than a decade of questions that may never be fully answered. Whether Brandon Lawson was in real danger, disoriented, or tragically lost in the darkness that night, the truth remains incomplete. What we're left with is a reminder that not every mystery ends with clarity. And sometimes the most unsettling part is what we still don't know. If you found this breakdown thoughtful and balanced, make sure to subscribe for more documentary-style stories that focus on facts over speculation. Leave your perspective in the comments. What do you think Brandon was experiencing that night? And as always, thank you for watching. Stay safe, stay curious, and I'll see you in the next episode.